All right, back in your life. I'm DLo. That's Jermz, or you may know him as J-Rock. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. It was cool
I'm
to hang
excited
out
for the
this
show.
weekend. Huh?
Yeah, it's all right. The party was good.
Yeah, it was.
Shout
it
out
was
to
fun.
Marley.
Yeah, shout out to Marley. We got together this weekend to celebrate her 5th birthday. Is she technically just one?
Yeah, she is a leap year, so I guess she's 2 now. Right?
No,
Isn't
she
it
turned
every
one.
3 years?
It's every 4 years, I
Oh,
thought.
this was her first birthday, huh? Oh,
Well, no,
snap. Yeah, so she's one.
she turned 1 technically last year, so she's 1 1/4.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know too much about leap year, but she's a lucky one. Happy birthday, Marley. She looked really happy.
She did.
So it's March 1st, and Deshaun Watson is still not going anywhere. And it's getting frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to that. But Russell Wilson rumors are starting to simmer down, I guess. I saw something where he would welcome a trade to the Bears. Dak Prescott apparently had a second surgery on his ankle. Unless that's just going in there and removing some screws, that's kind of weird. I wonder if that's why they haven't signed him to a long-term deal. I hope they don't, because he's a monster and he's scary to play against twice a year. Alex Smith, just like we said all along, definitely not coming back. Is officially stated to be released by Washington. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And I saw something that Stefan Gilmore might be on the move. Looks like the Patriots might be shopping him. And J.J. Watt landing in Arizona, 2-year, $31 million to go play with his former teammate Hopkins. That's a good deal. What are your takeaways? Any of those storylines that are really intriguing to you?
Really glad about the Alex Smith getting cut. Just because, I'm ready to see us compete. I'm ready to see the Washington compete. And the, JJ Watt, going to the Cardinals, that's a big move. You could definitely tell, they're trying to make a push maybe to the Super Bowl. I really like that defense. I watched a little bit of that defense last year. I was really impressed with Buda Baker. He was out there all over the field. Chandler Jones has been, a top rusher, in the league for a while now. You add JJ Watt to that line. That's dangerous, man. It's just funny because, the whole Russell Wilson wanting more protection, telling the Seahawks he needs help. He wants, beef up the line, and the opponents are doing the complete opposite. They're, beefing up their D line, so it's interesting, man. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't understand. I thought Watt was looking to go. You're, I guess, higher on the Cardinals than I am. I thought he was trying to go to a contender. He's definitely on the, end of his, career, end of his prime, probably out of his prime. I thought he would go to one of those top, 4-6 teams. But he landed somewhere and got a hefty sum of money. So I'm wondering there, he's probably still trying to make. He was probably prioritizing, a good deal over maybe chasing a ring. I don't think the Cardinals are there. But hey, we're here to talk quarterbacks, man. Rookie class of 2021. And I know you did some research on some of the top guys. I probably looked at less guys than you did, but take it away, brother.
Yeah, man. I actually was really excited about this topic. I just something about the young guys coming out the draft and, not really knowing, you hear all these headlines. They try to dig up dirt on their personal lives and all that. So it was fun to, kind of do my own little digging. And, I'm looking at, the mock drafts and the top, what the NFL has. And my list is completely different. And I'm gonna give you my top 5 now, and just kind of explain, how I did my,
Okay.
My scouting, I guess. So I got number 1, Trevor Lawrence. That's what everybody has him. Number 2 is the big curveball. I got my man KYLE TRASK. Number 3, Trey Lance. Number 4, Ian Book from Notre Dame. And number 5, Zach Wilson. So when I was doing, I started with Trevor Lance, looked at the stats, looked at the highlights, did a little bit of personal stuff on, on the Instagram, looking at their workouts,
Lawrence or Lance?
Lawrence, my bad. Lawrence. And, he was the first one I did. So he kind of just set the standard, and I'm looking at his stats and I'm looking at his gameplay. And I honestly think that guy is NFL ready. I think out of all the quarterbacks this draft, he is the only one that is NFL ready, in my opinion. So
it's Lawrence and then everybody else.
And then everybody else. And that's kind of why I threw, it seems like a curveball, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not much of a curveball, throwing Trask in there at number 2, because that's how I did it. It's Lawrence is up there on his own tier, and everybody else, I guess, shows, good qualities, but I have to see them against, top defenses to really see what they got.
Was there anything outside of his long, luscious hair that stood out? What was the first thing that was?
Hey, you know what? That was the first thing I looked at. It was his physique, his size, like his build, his mobility out there, the way he looks. He looks like an NFL quarterback already, and that was the first thing I noticed. Actually, his physique. But then, the more I broke it down was, his footwork, his patience, how he handled himself in the pocket, how he handles himself outside the pocket, rolling out left, rolling out right. Man, it looked perfect. It looked good. And then, once I started looking at the other guys, I'm like, oh, he doesn't look like Trevor. He doesn't, his footwork isn't as good as Lawrence. His pocket presence isn't as good,
Yeah.
But he, to me, he's the most complete. Stats. His stats last year weren't all that. He did lose, in the championship game, but it's, I'm looking out there. He looks like a Watson to me. He looks like, he has the mobility, he has the vision, patience, everything. He looks complete to me.
With Lawrence, he's probably the best QB prospect since Andrew Luck. People have been looking at and watching Trevor Lourdes since his freshman year. Yeah. And that's the guy everyone circled as like he, any year could be a Heisman, winner. And you can't, like you said, you can't overlook the physique, the 6'6", 230 pounds. I watched some of his pro day, and they were talking about how he's a little thin for NFL QBs, but I think most college players are, haven't really built into their frame yet. So he gets bigger, he'll get better. Yeah. He has it all. He has it all. I mean, he's got the arm strength. Actually, in that same pro day that I watched, the best, what stood out for me was something that Steve Smith Sr. said, the former Ravens and Panthers receiver. He said he throws very receiver-friendly passes. It's not, he's not rifling, bullets at everyone, and it's perfect. It looks very smooth, perfect amount of touch and all that. He looks flawless. I mean, I feel like to try and look for any weaknesses, you're nitpicking. You're really looking for something, right? The only thing I could think of was, he's out there with Amari Rodgers and Cornell Powell at receiver, and then arguably the best running back. Yeah. And at the end, it's Clemson. I mean, that you've got 4 or 5 star prospects all over the place. But yeah, I mean, the 38 touchdowns on play action passing, like you said, the rollouts. And Clemson is a very like college, like spread out college, like run pass option. I don't even think he's been unleashed. I really don't. It'll be interesting what happens with Urban Meyer and what type of offense he brings to Jacksonville if that's where he goes. But he's got receivers. They've got that running back. What was the guy who came out of nowhere and beasted for Jacksonville? Maurice Jones-Drew.
Maurice Jones-Drew. No, it's Robinson. James Robinson.
There you go. So it'll be interesting, man. Do you take right off the bat? Do you take even in a late draft pick? Do you stash Trevor Lawrence if he's in Jacksonville late in your fantasy draft?
Fantasy wise, it's tough, man. It's tough right now to call because you don't know how Jacksonville's offense gonna work out. I guess you can expect them to not be good, so garbage time. I guess I don't know how to look at it at this point. But I mean, based on what I saw, just highlights, I would. Why not? Late draft pick maybe.
Why not, right? Most of the time our drafts look completely different than what our teams are at the end. But
I mean, I got
if he falls somewhere between that Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert production, where it's fantasy isn't about winning on the field. You know what I mean? It's putting up points.
Yeah, I got Cam Newton last year with the last pick, so I mean
Cam Newton into the ground, man.
All right. Damn it, man.
But who's your number 2?
So my number 2 is my guy, KYLE TRASK. And this is another guy, like I said, I looked at the other guys as, just a different tier. And this is one of the guys, he's a senior, also has, good build, 6'5", 240 pounds. And his stats were amazing last year, he 43 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 4,000 something yards. It's the stats are there. He also looked real complete in my opinion. He looks the most complete out of the rest. He did lose to big teams. That's the big question. His footwork, on the highlights that I looked, I didn't really see his footwork. I couldn't really make a judgment on that. But he does have that, he has that zip and he has a nice touch, like you were mentioning earlier. I did see that on him. And his, he's been a guy that's improved a lot in his college career. And that's pretty much about it about Trask. He's a likable guy. I like him.
Yeah, he didn't start in high school.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did not start at QB all of high school. And didn't get an opportunity until just a couple of years ago with Florida.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's something that I like. Like, he's kind of got that underdog feel and that competitiveness, and that he says his an interview I listened to. He said, it drives him because he's always been prepared. He says he knows he's the backup, but he knows it just takes one play for him to step in. So he prepares the same way. And I think given an opportunity, he has obviously stepped up. The numbers don't lie. I think there's 2 guys on that Florida offense that are out of this world. Kadarius Toney, Kyle Pitts, probably first round, definitely Pitts top 10 pick. Kadarius Toney will probably be in the later half of the first round, but those guys are amazing to watch. And what stands out when I watch highlights of Trask is those guys. That's what pops out to me. Trevor Grimes is another guy that's going to get drafted probably maybe second day of the draft, but he's nice too.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. I saw some fumbles, lack of ball security with him a little bit. I do think he has a very long career as a backup.
Hey, like I said, man, Trevor Lawrence, the rest of the guys, and if that's what they have to do, work their way up, as backups, that's what they got to do.
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch what happens with him.
So my number 3 guy, they got him high on, in the NFL too. The drafts that I seen online, and the mock drafts, Trey Lance. It was tough to call. It was tough to do him because like the stats last year. So you're looking at stats from 2 years ago. But he's that big playmaker guy. It's like I was saying earlier, he's that like high risk, high reward type of player. He is one of the younger guys, which is one of the things that I don't like. I'm something about the young. I like guys that like Trask. It's just you could build around him. It's his mind, his mentals are gonna be there. I always think these young guys, think they're a little too good or better than they, what they really are. Sometimes these guys need to take time and, pay attention to detail, practice their craft, train, perfect their craft. But yeah, Trey Lance, he looks like your modern day QB, reminds me a little bit of Patrick Mahomes, just kind of stretching out the play, finding this guy. Solid deep ball. What I did question was his touch, like what you were saying earlier. All his touchdowns, all his passes look like, they just have that same velocity going over the top. It's not like you said, that shoulder pass or that nice touch.
Yeah, all these guys. I mean, if you watch any college games highlights, these games are 60 to 50. Everyone's got a deep ball. Everyone's doing double routes or straight go routes, and everyone's got these bombs. It's really hard to judge those guys in those highlights where it's just you're just throwing it really far at a really fast guy beating a slower corner. So you have Lance number 3.
Lance number 3.
That's my number 3 too.
Sweet.
I love this guy. If he was in a Division I doing this same type of production, I would go all out for this guy at number 1.
Yeah.
I love his story. I love Lance's story. No big school offered him a QB role. All the Division I schools were asking him to play safety, outside linebacker. Because he's got a big frame and he's probably going to get bigger. He's 20 years old. He's probably going to get bigger. One guy I keep looking at that I'm like, so he runs like he's on fire, but he's a better runner. I'm going to compare him to Cam Newton. He runs like he's on fire. But he runs better than Cam Newton, and that's saying something because that's one of the best rushing quarterbacks in history. And he's got the deep ball, which Cam had before a couple years ago, and he's kind of dealt with some shoulder issues. Yeah. You cannot ignore 2 years ago, he threw 28 touchdowns and, more importantly, 0 interceptions. That's unheard of at any level.
That's true.
I think because of that, no big school, like no one giving him a chance. In some of the interviews I listened to, it seems like he's got a chip on his shoulder. 20 years old. It can be bad, like you said. I agree with that, but it could also be good for a team that wants to have one more, extra year of control, like for a long-term deal. Like, say he gets drafted, say by the Panthers. I think if the Panthers are at number 8 and Lawrence and Wilson are gone, I think they got to go Lance, redshirt him, and see what he has. And then you might have this quarterback for the next 15 to 20 years. I mean, these guys are playing to 40.
That's true.
44, 45, 100 years old. He's built like an ox. And yeah, I think once he gets in the training room, he can get even bigger and stronger. So Cam Newton is one of the guys that I think I have that comparison with. But it's North Dakota State, so you just don't know. Same college. went to, I think. And I see this guy as a gem. If he falls to Washington in the first round, I'll be psyched. And if it doesn't work out as QB, he can switch positions to tight end like Logan Thomas did in Washington.
Nice. Yeah, you know what? My bold prediction on these guys, it was it's funny that you mentioned the Panthers. I looked at the Panthers, but I'm really hoping he lands in Pittsburgh. And like I said, you know, him being young, I think Mike Tomlin would be a great coach for him. He'd get to, you know, back up Big Ben at least a year. I think the Steelers would be a perfect fit for Lance.
That's a good one. Again, like that, staying on the, you know, possibly him having to sit behind a quarterback like Big Ben. I think that's best case scenario for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But you know, the Panthers are one of those teams that they had a great offer for Stafford. Stafford just didn't want to go there. But you're not gonna see, you know, Wilson and Watson say that they want to go to Carolina. That's just not happening.
Right.
They're gonna have to get somebody in the draft, and unless they pull off some crazy stunt where they go for the number 2 pick from the Jets or something like that, and go for Wilson. Is Wilson your your second overall pick for the Jets if they draft a QB?
Man, it's hard. It's hard to tell because that's what the mock draft, you know, a lot of these mock drafts they have it like that, right? Wilson's actually my fifth guy, my fifth quarterback, but I mean, it's hard to go against his stats. He threw like 73% last year. He's a stud, man. He has that swag. He has that. I like Wilson. He definitely has that swag. But it's like
I have swag written down right under Wilson. I swear to God.
Yeah, no, he definitely has it. It's
Aaron Rodgers swag.
Yeah, and his, you know, the thing with Wilson is I don't know if he's that like you said with the Trask. I don't know if he's that good or is that system is built really well around him. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I'm a little worried about. It's like I compared him to a little bit of Daniel Jones, a little bit of Goff, you know, a lot of that play action stuff. But what I'm, you know, the like outlooks that I predicted was like, okay, he either goes Johnny Football,
or we have the same thing written down,
or he goes Baker Mayfield route, which I got to give Baker Mayfield big props this year, man. He stepped it up. He's one of the guys that like I always kind of, you know, talk trash about how inconsistent he is. Big props to Baker Mayfield this year.
Yeah,
and that's one of the guys, you know, I hope Zach Wilson could, you know, follow that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, and that's the thing. I think Wilson might go second. I think Wilson will go second.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned. So 2 guys you mentioned, I have written down too. I hate agreeing with you so much, but Baker Mayfield is probably the ceiling for him around that, right? And then Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football is the other, but Johnny Football was a beast. He just wasn't a beast up here.
Exactly.
But no, this guy has a competitive nature like those 2 guys. But he's got swag. He plays with he's got a very fluid delivery. He knows that he can throw a bullet when he needs to. But like you said, you know, you wonder whether it's the scheme there in BYU. I'm excited to see Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is my number 2. So he's your number 5. So we skipped somebody.
He's my number 5.
Who's number 4?
Oh yeah, my number 4 was Ian Book from Notre Dame. And
okay.
This guy, he's a dual threat. He runs a lot. His stats didn't look too good. 15 touchdowns, a little under 3,000 yards, 3 interceptions. It's not bad. 64% completion. But I just he's a senior. I love, his numbers have been consistent. And he just has that good pocket presence. He steps up. I love that. I love those players that, they just, they know when to step up. They know when to let it go. They know when you just got to dump it off. That it's, that's the stuff that you go into the NFL and learn or perfect. And the fact that he already has that, or I see that in him, it makes me, he's a solid backup. Okay, already, you know what I'm saying? It'd be nice. I'm really excited to see where Ian Book lands and follow for the rest of his career, because I really like what I see in him.
Yeah, so outside of the top 6 guys like Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance, Mac Jones, I think I didn't mention. Book was one of those guys where he was in the Heisman race like halfway through the season.
Yeah,
a lot of eyes were on him, and Notre Dame, had a great year. They sort of fell off at the end. I got to look at Book some more. I didn't do that much diving into him. But
his downfalls are he's only 6 foot tall. He is pretty small, compared to these guys that are coming out in the draft. But man, that dual threat. You look at these guys like was Jackson, Lamar Jackson, and it's just Josh Allen. It's just he looks like the modern day quarterback. The Mahomes, the Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, Russ, the mobility, keeping the play alive. I like this guy. I'm really excited to follow his career.
Okay. You did not mention Mac Jones or Justin Fields. Tell me why.
I'm not sold, man. I'm not sold on those guys. I'm not saying that, they're not going to be great quarterbacks and maybe even, prove me wrong in the NFL. But Mac Jones, I just feel like this isn't a good system, man. His receivers, like you said, you mentioned this with Trask too. Those receivers are monsters, and like they're outpaced. They're like in yards ahead of like their DBs. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to, the stats are there. You can't lie against the stats. Dude, do what? I don't even know how many 4,000 yards, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. It's hard to argue with the stats, but
4,000 touchdowns.
4,000. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm not sold, but I will root for him. I don't see these guys. I don't even see Mac Jones being better than Daniel Jones in the Giants,
So did you see what Tua said about Mac Jones today?
No, what did he say?
He said he called him a more mobile Tom Brady.
Dang, that's a lot of praise, man.
I'm so sick of Tua.
That's
the most ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous quote I've ever seen or heard.
A more mobile Tom Brady.
Mobile Tom Brady. So not Tom Brady in any way. Like, all right. I don't know. A more mobile.
All right. He's
Tom Brady. Yeah, I just like you look at the Alabama quarterbacks and who's the last Alabama quarterback to really do anything? AJ McCarron is probably a top backup. Greg McElroy did nothing. Tua, I mean, the book's still out on Tua. He was a high prospect all along.
It's funny that he said that, because in my notes I wrote down that I don't like his footwork, so I don't really like his mobility. I don't know.
I saw some plays where, as soon as the pocket starts to collapse a little, he gets a little happy feet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because that entire team is full of 5-star, studs.
Yeah.
They're getting the ball all game long because their defense is amazing. It's usually the best. And he's got Devontae Smith, Waddle, and stud running backs like Najee Harris. Yeah, he's one guy that was climbing up, kind of a lot of people's draft boards. He seems to be climbing up the draft boards while Justin Fields is going down. What are you seeing in Fields that, or what have you read or something you're seeing that, I mean, there's articles coming out like every day where Fields is going to be like almost the end of the first round now, where he was right after the college season. Fields was going number 2.
Yeah. And some of the mocks still have him up there, but yeah, like when I did this scouting report, I'm not impressed at all. And this is one of the guys I remember watching. I don't know if you've heard. He was on Netflix a few years ago when he was in high school, and I watched it. I love Netflix, and me and Karina watched it, and it was funny because last year I think I'm like, oh snap, this is the guy. I'm like, man, you remember watching the documentary? I'm like, this is the guy. Like he's in college now, and so I started following a little closer, and just not sold, man. It's his deep pass, the over the top, over the middle. I mean, that shit's money. It's money. He's got it's like, no, yeah, he can, and he's fast. You want to think, Lamar Jackson, but it's just, I don't think he's gonna do that well against NFL defenses. I think it's one of those guys that he's gonna have to prove it to me, because I just don't see it based on, these are college students. It's like you said earlier, he's the over the top, the deep passes, it's just hard to measure these quarterbacks off of that. And it looks like that's all he has. All his highlights are just that. It's just him slinging it.
Yeah. So yeah, he can run. He's got a gun.
I don't know. I can't.
He's an athlete, so he's going to stick around for a long time, I think. I think there's upside, right? If he gets in a good scheme and where they can, I see some Kyler Murray in there with the ability where the running is a constant threat, like Murray's. Like,
okay,
half of Cardinals' offense is just Kyler Murray running out the edge for 3 to 6 yards. I had Murray last year, and he gave me like 30 points a game, but it was frustrating to watch because he'd have like 7 points through 3 quarters and then go bananas. Just lose it in like a 5-minute span and score 3 rushing touchdowns. So that with Fields, there's a constant threat of the rush. Fantasy wise, that's good, very good. I think the downside is somewhere around Daniel Jones, where you're gonna wonder, like, how is this guy still a starting quarterback in the league? But there's that rushing threat, similar to Jones.
Yeah.
So Fields, Jones, outside of your top 5.
Yeah.
My rankings, I have 2 tiers. I Lawrence, Wilson, Trey Lance, I think will be solid. I like all 3 of those guys, I think. But yeah, Lawrence is the clear cut, like, stud, ready to go guy. And then the other 3 guys that I looked at, I have Jones, Trask, Fields. I'm with you. Not a big fan of Fields, but we'll see. It'll be fun to we'll post our rankings online. We'll ask some of the other guys if they want to contribute on that. And I can't wait to see what happens in the draft and to follow these kids' careers.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad we did this, because this is the first time I've actually really, really paid attention and done my own scouting, and I am rooting for these guys. Even Justin Fields, I want him. I want him to ball. I want to see them, shine. So it is fun. I love this.
Yeah. And I mean, the craze right now in the NFL is quarterbacks. All off season, it's just been, what's happening? Aaron Rodgers wants to leave the Packers. What? Where's Stafford going, and Watson and Darno, and Everyone's talking about Heineke, right? He's the superstar in the entire league. Alex Smith now, and then people are wondering about these rookie QBs. So hopefully we were able to give a little bit of a breakdown of the top guys. But I don't think this draft, as much as the NFL is wanting to make it so bad, it won't be a good draft class for QBs. I don't think.
I'm gonna have to agree on you with this one, and I think the fact that we've seen these big trades like Stafford and Wentz is a can prove that, because you look at the draft, you're looking at these guys, you're scouting these guys, I would guess all year round, right? If you're an NFL team, you're looking at these guys, you're looking at these college games and everything. So I agree with you, man. I don't think this, besides Trevor Lawrence, I just see I see a lot of backups for a while.
If there's one guy out of the guys that you looked at that, because there's always a surprise. There's always a third round Russell Wilson or whatever round it was, Dak Prescott, the Tom Brady 6th round. Like, there's always somebody out of the guys you looked at who's got the chance to come out of nowhere and be a top 5 QB in the whole league. Is there one?
Man.
Or if you had to give me one, you had to give me a name. You had to put money on. You had to put money on it.
Dude, I'm gonna go with Trey Lance, man. I'm gonna go with Trey Lance, the high risk, high reward guy.
I really like Lance.
Yeah.
There's something about Wilson. I think that competitive, like we talked about that, like Baker Mayfield, like I think he's gonna be a team leader, like a very vocal guy. And I wrote down in my notes right here for Wilson was Aaron Rodgers swag.
Okay.
So.
Hell yeah.
I mean, if he goes to the Jets, probably not.
That's gonna be tough. Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
But imagine he falls to like I think the Falcons are number 5 or 4 or something. Imagine someone like that falls, gets a year to watch Matt Ryan, or like you said, like if Trey Lance falls to the Steelers and he gets to learn from that guy and Mike Tomlin. That's a recipe for success, I feel like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that wraps up our QB rookie class of 2021. We'll be back in a few days to continue to talk about quarterbacks. We'll be talking probably Friday, going over some fantasy rankings for quarterbacks, some mock situations, some buy or sell debates. Should be fun. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, man. This is always fun, man. I love this.
Yeah.
I love seeing your beautiful face too.
Did you know? Are you mocking me? Because did you know that today is National Compliment Day? I would be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Hell yeah, bro.
National Compliment Day. So
that's awesome.
I really like that hat too.
Thank you, brother.
All right, we are out, brother.